This is the West Hartford Public Safety Committee meeting. This committee meeting will be available for live viewing on the WHCI YouTube channel. This is a virtual meeting, and today is Wednesday, October 4th, and the time is 8 a.m. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. And then before I get into the agenda items, I do want to just acknowledge the shooting, another shooting at Morgan State University in Baltimore last night, where a few students, I believe 4, from what I last learned, were injured. I don't believe there were any fatalities. This school is very near and dear to my heart because my daughter graduated from that school. And I'm sure I'm not preaching to the choir here. We just continue to experience these shootings that are just so unnecessary and cost so many innocent people lives or injuries and impact on families and the community at large. We send our kids off to school knowing that they're going to be safe, and then these things seems to keep happening over and over. And I certainly want to acknowledge the public, our first responders and our public safety officers, our firefighters, all those that respond as soon as we dial that 911. Often we just think about that initial impact, but we also have to just keep in mind that so many people are impacted and experience this loss or these injuries that are just unnecessary. And then I do want to pivot over to, I'm sure everyone is reeling from the sudden death of Earl Exum. Um, I'm still very emotional, so I'm going to try to get through this without breaking down. But I know that Earl was connected to so many town departments, and I know he was working on an event with the PD that's going to be held on Sunday. And I also know that he's very instrumental with the district. I mean, this man was just one of our strong pillars in town and impacted our community in such a positive way. Um, just everything positive that you can describe a person would be Earl. And so I just want to ask everybody if we can just pause for a moment of silence in his remembrance. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda, oh, let me just acknowledge everybody around the table. So we have Town Manager Rick Ledwith, Chief Riddick, Chief Priest and his team, AC O'Callahan, and then your team that is sitting behind you, Councilor McGinnis, Councilor Cortez. We have our Fire Marshal Grimaldi, um, Mayor Cantor, and I want to say, is that it? I think that's it in terms of what I'm looking at on the virtual screen. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and we're going back a little way. So we are approving the minutes from March 29th, May 3rd, and June 7th with all the necessary corrections. So if did any of the other committee members see any corrections that we need to be aware of? If not, we can make a motion to receive the minutes with all the necessary corrections. Okay. All right. So the next item on the agenda is communications. Mr. Town Manager, do we have any communications that you would like to speak to this morning?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. We just wanted to extend an invitation to certainly the members of the Public Safety Committee as well as the council as a whole. We have an upcoming fire department promotional ceremony next Wednesday, October 11th at 4:30 in the afternoon in the auditorium right here in Town Hall. And this ceremony gives us the opportunity to honor the commitment and dedication of our promotees, as well as welcome our newest members of the fire department. So invitation extends to everyone. If you're able to fit it on your calendars, we would love to see you. So thank you. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. And then we will proceed with the staff reports. And I believe the fire department is up first. So Chief Priest, I'll turn it over to you and your team.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and everyone else on the meeting today. Greg Priest, Fire Chief in West Hartford. Let me first begin by acknowledging your initial comments and offering my condolences to you and to Representative Exum and other members of our community who have been so deeply affected by such a great man. So it's hard to pick up and move in a positive direction with that kind of sobering news, but I'll move forward with my report and kind of dovetailing off what the town manager said. We're looking forward. We've made 2 recent promotions. Lieutenant Larson and apparatus operator Wheeler were promoted recently, and we will be recognizing numerous other promotions at that ceremony. Not included in my written report, though, but thought that it would be helpful is just to alert you that we are sending 2 of our members to Fire Marshal Inspector School. This will help supplement Chief Grimaldi's area over there. This allows our personnel to supplement through the line member inspection program, which we hope will improve some of our residential inspections. And those members will be attending in the next few months, hopefully coming out of the school by January. In a really awesome news, we just finished our 2nd Preparation for Success class. This was an outreach event where we call in folks who are interested in the fire service. It was the brainchild of one of our firefighters who felt that it was something that we could offer to anybody in the fire service or around who was interested in becoming a firefighter. Whether we're talking about resumes or applying or interviewing, this brings in a really diverse audience. They came into Elmwood and they were greeted with members of our human resources department, our chiefs, some neighboring chiefs, and several of our personnel. Really outstanding to see such a diverse group of folks interested in the fire service in varying areas of life and careers. And we had an opportunity to speak one-to-one with them and really try and help navigate them through pathways into the fire service. I'm really appreciative of the staff that helped put it together because it's all part of our multi-part strategy and our commitment to really trying to go to different areas of our community and youth and age and backgrounds to try and get folks to join the fire service. So it really ties into our work in our high schools where we're doing our EMR program. Actually, I'm joined by Bill Shepard. He's in the back there. So he's a great kid. He's been working with our school system to work on an EMR program. Looking forward to partnering with that. Pairs with our camps that were recently done. And also it's a part of our efforts include working with Capital, New Britain EMS, and Hartford Hospital, where we're actually bringing in paramedic students here to be trained by West Hartford paramedics. So it's a very large strategy to try and really engage lots of different folks that come into the fire service. So pleased to report on that. Moving quickly on to the next thing, we had a great visit with the South Korean fire delegation. We had some members of our elected officials there. It was great. We really learned a lot about their service, and they had some great questions about fire investigation, specifically in the United States. That was wonderful. As far as the next upcoming month, we're working very hard. We're looking at our apparatus replacement plan in preparation for submitting our capital budget. As you know, we've struggled with the industry, the apparatus replacement industry, where costs are rising and delivery times are delayed. So we're adjusting our capital improvement plan to reflect that. We're also doing some work in the facilities area and our emergency management, working in partnership with the police department, facilities, and other folks to make sure that our buildings are assessed from a security perspective. Really happy with the interaction that we're having as a multidisciplinary team to do this, and it kind of dovetails into making sure that we're prepared for any type of active shooter, hostile events scenario. Again, in partnership with the police department, we have some paramedics on the SWAT team, and we work really aggressively for the training for both police officers and firefighters so that we're prepared to respond, and it pairs with our efforts to prepare our facilities. we did have some very significant calls this month. We had a very significant and tragic motor vehicle accident up on the highway. These accidents tend to stress our personnel and our resources, the amount of people we have out on the highway. I'm very pleased. Our personnel bounce back very quickly. We support them as best we can, but no matter what, this job can be tough sometimes, both in police and fire as well. I'm going to conclude my report by just turning it over quickly to Chief O'Callahan. It was a little bit of an operational change for us. Didn't really rise too much to a level of like open discussion, but in light of some of these more serious motor vehicle accidents and also watching some of the motor vehicle accidents of significance that you're seeing down, say, in the Sacred Heart University or the Fairfield area, we just wanted to just give the council or the Public Safety Committee an opportunity to hear about, for lack of a better term, it's a rebranding of one of our fire apparatus to what we call a squad. And I'll defer to Chief O'Callahan, and he'll close out the report, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Hugh O'Callahan, Assistant Chief, West Hartford Fire. The fire station at on Prospect Avenue houses Engine 1, formerly Engine 1. We have rebranded that engine to be called Squad 1. And the squad concept is it's a name that allows regional partners to understand that the unit that's coming is a squad and is assigned special technical rescue responsibilities. So over the last couple of years, we've really worked on training our people with more technical rescue capabilities, rope rescue, confined space rescue, the arborist class we did, and this is a specialized unit that will keep all of the equipment on it and ready to respond to West Hartford and externally as well if we're needed mutual aid somewhere else. I should thank Captain Pacheco, who's put a lot of work and effort into this for getting this up and running. It's a big step for West Hartford. It's a name change, but it's actually a lot of work that goes into this and a lot of training to be able to, at a moment's notice, put these very complicated ropes and systems together to be able to rescue people. And it was brought to our attention by Captain Pacheco, who took a look at the town and strategically thinking could see the building that's going on here, the growth, how we're going upwards in town. We're not expanding outwards, we're going upwards. So technical rescue is becoming more and more needed in the town. So we're going to continue to build on that with the squad who will train other people in town as well, other firefighters in town. So we'll keep building on this for many years.
Thank you. All right, that concludes the fire department report. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have of us.
Thank you, Chief Priest. Any questions for Chief Priest from Counselor Cortez or Counselor McGinnis? Okay, I have a couple of questions for you, Chief Priest. Let's start with the accidents, the tragedies, and the fatalities. And I know the impact that has to have on the team because they're human as well. So in your experience, especially with these past few fatalities, what is the average period of time that you see your team or staff bounce back after encountering something like that?
Ma'am, in my experience, that's a very, very individual issue specific to the firefighter or the personnel. I can answer it probably best from a personal experience, which is the calls that I've been exposed to that, that stay with me longer, sometimes had no significance in the larger things, not no significance. A better way of putting it is by the average person, they wouldn't suggest that it is a tragic call. Right. So I can remember cardiac arrests of, middle-aged people that look like my dad on Christmas Eve. Those are calls that stick with me. But when we get into some of these more serious calls, what we do is we work very, very closely and quickly with our peer support team to make sure that they're supported first by their peers and that the administration is supporting them and making sure that they understand what resources that they have available to them. We're really trying to reinforce that there is no longer a stigma associated with taking care of yourself and recognizing when you're under stress. And we try and reflect that every day with our personnel. So in terms of bouncing back, I think I would say bouncing back means getting back into the saddle at work and being productive and moving forward, moving past through like an acute stress disorder and getting back to it. But there are certain things that last in this job for a very long time. That's why we have PTSD legislation that applies to both our police and fire. So hopefully that answers your question, Counselor.
Yes, thank you. It does. And then the other question I have, excuse me, for you, AC O'Callahan, is can you give me an example? And I was happy to hear what you said in terms of the rope rescue, the apparatus, and also keeping in mind of the building construction that's going up in town. I try to be mindful of that when I'm speaking to folks, also when they're talking about resources and our taxes and our budget. But would you give an example of a confined space rescue?
Sure thing. So the rope rescue and the technical rescue that we're working on, within weeks of getting our first shipment of supplies, we had 2 technical rescues on top of buildings where we had to extricate a party who was depressed, and we had to put all our skills together with our ropes, and we worked that out just fine within weeks of getting that equipment. Confined space would be something that has limited access, and that could be a trench box. So when you're seeing people work on the side of the road and they're digging the trenches 2 or 3 feet down, 4 feet down, it doesn't look very dangerous, but it does not take much for the earth to collapse in, and that would be considered confined space, as well as the tunnel system that's going on in West Hartford leading into Hartford. That would be considered confined space. And to be very honest with you, almost every major building in the town has some sort of confined space location where workers are crawling in, trying to fix a pipe, trying to get to electrical boxes. And if they have a medical emergency, our people need to be able to go in there and monitor the air to see if the air is safe for us to enter in. And then they have to rig a hauling system to get that person out, because in a very tight space, you just can't walk in there and pick them up and drag them out. You have to actually put them into a special basket, strap them in, haul them out. And that system takes about 12 people alone. And that would be half of our shift just to get them out. That doesn't even include who's got to be in charge of the incident, as well as firefighters to treat the patient when they come out. So you're looking at about 15 firefighters to do one incident like that. So, and we can do that ourselves now. We weren't able to do that before. Before we had a plan to call mutual aid to get Hartford in or New Britain. We're good now. Now we take care of our own stuff inside, and we will call them for manpower or women power if we need.
Thank you so much for that explanation. That's very enlightening. And now I feel educated where I can provide that, excuse me, information to others. So thank you for that. All right. Is the mayor, did you have any questions?
I did want to ask about the therapy dog, and if you have that yet, and has that been effective? And
Okay. So yes, Mayor, we have Lola. She's a therapy dog. And by we, I mean this is a union sponsored support part of their peer support team. We consider her to be part of the peer support team. Our administration supports however we can with that, but we're careful with the boundaries to ensure that the union does take the credit for that. It was their membership that supported it. They've built some partnerships. But we're very pleased that Lola is here. She's assigned to firefighter paramedic Matt Hebert. He's at Station 3. She's been deployed several times within our own stations, but also for some community related events over at Town Hall. So primary focus is on our personnel, and we've heard some pretty good stories about people enjoying having Lola in the department, and I'll turn to anybody else. I see lots of nodding from the folks who are out in fire stations a little bit more than I am, so.
I'll just tag on there, the night of the car accidents that we had, Lola was notified, or her handler was notified, and was prepared to come in. So always on standby. Matt Hebert's always on standby.
it's good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Priest, I do have one more question, and that was in the report regarding hoarding. How do you usually get notified of, I guess, residents or whomever with hoarding issues? and how do you address it?
Sure. Thanks, Counselor, for the question. So we work obviously in any type of emergency response situation. We work very closely with law enforcement. Our personnel that respond to a scene will determine that something has happened. We work very closely with our fire marshal's office as well. There's a hoarding task force that gets put together to determine what the possible sources are and how we can assist that particular resident with it and determine whether or not there's any immediate life safety hazards that have to happen. If we really identify that there's a property that's of significant concern to us, we can also have our computer-aided dispatch system alerting our personnel to the address that the hazard exists there. Bob, did I miss anything, or Chief Riddick? Because I know we have partners on the boarding task force.
No, sounds good. Chief. So it's a multi-agency approach.
Okay, thank you. Next up would be Chief Riddick and his team. So I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. As you mentioned with Mr. Exum, I got to know him a little bit over the last couple of years, him and his wife. I'm still in shock. We're around the same age, and I guess when you get our age, you start looking in the paper and you start seeing people and they pass away. You realize that you're not going to live forever. The interesting thing is we've been trying to pull off this jazz event for at least 3 years, and we finally were able to get it going. We're able to get a grant through Representative Exum, going through the bridge, and the part of this event was going to pull in our youth and expose them to something different. And one thing Earl continually stressed was having the police department have an interaction with the kids in a different way, our non-traditional way. So it's disappointing. At this point, there was thoughts about not going forward, but we are. We're not sure in what fashion yet, but we are going to come forward with something on Sunday. So thank you for bringing that up. Probably one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. His resume is absolutely ridiculous. Undergraduate from Cornell, like 2 different master's degrees from like the best schools in the country, but yet he was very relatable. Just like a regular person, but he was definitely committed. So I'm disappointed personally because we were just starting to really know each other, and I was looking forward to continuing that relationship, actually with my wife and his. But the Lord had something different for whatever reason. But anyway, so thank you for bringing that up. A tremendous loss. With that being said, I submitted my written report. I'm just going to highlight just a couple of things as we continue to go forward. We are currently at 7 vacancies. We had a couple of certified officers who decided to move on to different police departments, and both those officers came from out of state. We pistol permits from 2022 of September, we had 34. In September of 2023, 25 requests. The breakdown is 20 men and 5 women. Year to date for 2022, we had 223 pistol permits, and this year, year to date, we only have 173. Some notable recent activities that have occurred. As a reminder, we are in week 2 of our Citizens Police Academy. That's going extremely well. We're up to about 20 or 22 participants. Really excellent program. Motor vehicles stops. Last year to date, we had 3,046 motor vehicle stops. This year to date, 5,809. So really good work. Moving down to Animal Control Division. They have handled 365 calls for service for the month of September. 135 of those were domestic animal complaints and 39 were wildlife complaints. Our Community Support Unit, which we call CSU, this is our quality of life unit that we have out there working. And also many members are part of the Greater Hartford Auto Theft Task Force. So we made 28 arrests. 10 of those arrests were felonies, 18 for misdemeanors. Year to date, we've had 67 incidents and when operators have failed to stop for police officers. without engaging the pursuit. That's just people just taking off on us when we engage our emergency lights. Our community support unit, and I think you guys might have saw the news release on this, did an excellent job developing intelligence while watching a group of individuals. And we made 3 arrests for check washing and stolen credit cards and taking possession of a phishing device, which they were using to go inside the mailbox containers at the post office. So really excellent job with that. And all three individuals had a $50,000 bond associated with them. And while we were watching them, one of the individuals was actually attempting to go within a bank to withdraw additional monies. So really, really good work by our unit. As we also probably saw in the news, we did a really good old-fashioned police work. We had a second-degree assault that occurred in the center about 1:30 in the morning, about a month or so ago. Using the flock cameras, we were able to get a part of a license plate and then follow that vehicle, and just between our patrol officers, our detectives, and our community support unit, just keep working the case, talking to people, making interviews, using computers and then cameras. We went on our police network. Somebody else had an interaction with that car similarly. Long story short, we developed information that the individual was leaving West Hartford and was on a plane to California. We notified the FBI, LAPD, and they were waiting for him. By the time he had touched down, we pushed through an arrest warrant. And so we're still in the point right now of dealing with extradition. Now, he has waived extradition, but it's still a process with paperwork and us getting a plane flight and getting out there to pick him up. The charges were second-degree assault with a firearm, breach of peace, and reckless driving, which actually started this. So really, really proud of our officers with that, because that was excellent work, just excellent old-fashioned police work. Additional highlights. A couple of weeks ago, we had a person who went down at the fast track. Our officers responded and assisted a citizen who was performing CPR. We administered Narcan, and the person was able to be revived and then brought to the hospital. Another flock license plate hit where we observed a stolen car in the BJ's lot. Officers were able to converge on that unit before they knew what hit them, and we got 3 people in custody, so that was excellent. Next, very disturbing incident that occurred. We had a female complainant who called the police department that there was a male who was driving around slowly with his pants down and masturbating. Again, utilizing the flock cameras, narrowing down the time, we were able to get a plate of the description of the vehicle. We followed up on that, and we were able to secure an arrest warrant with him, and we were able to make an arrest last evening, on this individual who was charged with indecent exposure, breach of peace, and interfering with police. The charge of interfering came in because he kept telling us a whole bunch of lies and everything else. So that was inside the warrant and was signed by the prosecutor and the judge. So we were able to get him off the street, and I think he has a $5,000 bond. Oh, I'm so sorry. For the individual with the pistol whipping, another example of why, us in the Connecticut Police Chiefs Association, law enforcement in general within the state, this individual was out on a $1.2 million bond for his involvement in a homicide that occurred in the town of Hartford, in the city of Hartford. He was not on any type of supervised release, no bracelet, nothing. Again, you've heard many police chiefs at news conferences and the media or whatever the case is talking about this issue. He never should have been out in the street, and if he was, he should have been monitored, and there should have been something done there, which wasn't the case. So therefore, here he was out on bond, and then he's committing this crime. The court did an excellent job. The judge did put a $5 million bond on him, so he should not be getting out until he shows up for court. And again, as a reminder, bonds are not for punishment, but just to ensure that people show up. And I think if you have somebody after committing such a serious crimes up on a plane, that shows you potentially his high risk for flight. No pun intended with that, by the way. And then lastly, a couple of days ago, this made the news also. We used our drone with the infrared system. There was a hiker who got lost by Reservoir 1 with the NDC. We responded. FD was also en route, and we were able to get our drone up really quick, use the infrared, and we found the individual, able to get him into, well, help find his way back out without us getting lost and get him to safety. So thank you for your time this morning. I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Chief Riddick. Sounds like great police work by you and your team, which is excellent. That only reiterates when we're talking about public safety in terms of my bragging rights and what I can say about both police and fire. So thank you so much. And big thanks to the team as well. Are there any questions from the committee members? Councilor Cortez or Councilor McGinnis? Mayor Cantor?
No, I wanted to just mention that I know Sunday is going to be, this is going to be a hard weekend for so many people that that treasured the Exums in the way they deserve to be treasured, because they are amazing people. And I was talking to somebody from Wasco who talked about the coordinated effort with police on this jazz event, and rather than canceling, how important it might be to highlight and remember Earl, and have maybe some songs or some dedication, and remembrances, as part of the program. I don't know, Chief, if that's something, but they were going to meet. I think they were meeting soon on that. So I don't know if we want to give that some thought.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. We were having weekly meetings on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. We discussed yesterday how we should appropriately honor Earl and part of his vision with this endeavor. And part of it's also being respectful that everyone's still grieving, especially Representative Exum and their family at this time. So we have a couple ideas as far as its songs. We've not discussed that, but as far as appreciation and just talking about the man, what he meant to the community, and who should deliver some of those remarks. And I believe they were trying to find somebody from Wasco to do that, in addition to yours truly and anybody else who wants to have a couple words before we kick off the program. So that's the plan as it is for now.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I just also want to thank you for the incredible work of the PD, the investigative work. The story after story after story really is incredibly inspirational on how things are pieced together, and the persistence, the perseverance, and the smarts of the department. I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Credit goes to the officers, the detectives, and the specialized unit. They're stand-up individuals, they're professionals, and they take it personal. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. I have a question. I do have a question for you, though, regarding the extradition of this individual. Help me understand what's usually the period of time that this occurs. I guess when the process is complete, about when and how he'll be transported back to Connecticut.
Yeah, it varies. Normally, it could be if he fought extradition, there's a hearing and there's a presentation and there's discussion as far as to why that should be granted or not. That's not the case here. He did agree to waive. So there's paperwork that has to be done and secured. We have been working with the state's attorney's office, and they set everything up for us as far as transport. You got to contact the airline. There's special TSA training and that you have to do because you will be traveling with firearms. You also have a prisoner. You have to worry about feeding, bathroom, like all the stuff you don't really worry about. But now you have a prisoner, on a plane. How do you handle that? Getting through the airports, there's a lot to do with that, and then it's the time frame as far as when can the officers get out there, and we're trying to get somebody out there hopefully within the next week or so, less than a week.
Thank you for providing that information. I really appreciate it. All right, if there aren't any other questions or comments, we can move to if there's any future agenda items from the committee members. No? Okay. So before I adjourn, I just want to ask everyone to keep Representative Exum, Evan, Kyle, Jonathan, his entire, all of his siblings and extended family members and friends and the entire community in our prayers. And just, if there's anything that we can do or think of to help the family, let's all try to do that and really pull together as a community family. Thank you. I will adjourn the meeting. It's 8:35. Is that correct? Yeah, 8:35. So you have a bunch of time that I've given back to you. So please try to enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll see you around town, and hopefully I'll see you all on Sunday. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.